Hey guys, well, 2018 has come and went, and in my opinion, this was a pretty good year for horror movies. Not to say that every horror movie I've seen this year I liked. I mean, I've seen some ones I didn't like Truth or Dare, Winchester, and The Possession of Hannah Grace, to name a few. But majority, though, I've actually really did like. And so, as you all know, I normally do an end of the year video. I do this best horror movies list of the year. So, I'm going to name what I think is the best horror movies of 2018. And keep in mind, this is just opinion because I do know that there are movies that people aren't really going to like or even all out hate on my list. But, you know, it's just an opinion, to each his own. If you don't like some of these movies, it's fine, or it doesn't bother me at all. So, to get started, I'm going to name a couple that I don't have on DVD or Blu-ray. So, one I chose is Hellfest. Now, I know that movie was, in general, just a generic slasher movie. And, to be honest, while it was just that, I actually liked it because I actually liked how self-aware that, like, it knew it was a generic slasher movie and just had a fun time with it. Like, so, I really liked it just gave us a good fun time to watch. I liked the set pieces, the look of the festival, and I also liked Bex Taylor Klaus from the Scream TV show, and she was also in Arrow. She was really fun. I liked the cameo from Tony Todd. And so, the way I saw it, it's like a horror movie for horror fans only, not for the critics. Another one I also chose is the movie Overlords. So I really liked that, it's like a World War II set movie. I really liked the World War II look. I also do like the story about how these soldiers try and take down this tower, then like they find this lab underneath it there where they're doing experiments on corpses, like using this serum to like bring them back from the dead, making them hard to kill. I really liked the practical effects. Even the CGI effects were pretty good too. It reminded me of the movie, what was it called? Frankenstein's Army. I just remember, I've actually put that as one of the best horror movies I've seen in 2013. So, I really did enjoy that movie. And now I'm going to get to the ones I have on DVD and Blu-ray here. So, and this is in no particular order. However, I will say what I think is the best horror movie this year, and it's one I don't have on Blu-ray yet. I'll be getting it in a couple weeks, though. Okay, the first I chose is Prime Evil. I saw this in the theater for a Fathom event, and I thought it was pretty cool. Basically about these couple who get stranded out in the woods and they get stalked by this Bigfoot. What they did with Bigfoot was actually pretty different. Like, pretty much made Bigfoot into like a serial killer kind of thing. Like, he uses weapons these knives, like wooden knives, and also arrows as well. The big fight at the end was pretty cool. I also do like the chemistry between the two main actors. They were pretty good. And I really liked the effects, like all the gore effects, all done practically. The look of Bigfoot was pretty cool. It was a guy in a suit, all done practically. Another one I chose. I know this one a lot of people didn't really like, and I understand why, but I still enjoyed this one for what it was. It's The Strangers Prey at Night. I can understand that, at times this felt like it was just a remake of the first movie, and in general it just felt like a generic slasher movie. But I still liked it because, I just really liked how it had this 80s slasher feel to it. Like, they had 80s music, they also had, 80s suspense. It felt a little bit like a John Carpenter movie a bit, and they even said themselves that John Carpenter's, earlier work did have inspiration for this. And it showed too, it had the same suspense, the same tension from John Carpenter's earlier movies, Halloween and The Thing. Yeah, so overall I still liked this for what it was. Again, I can understand why people didn't really like this, but I still did overall. And another one that I know people didn't really like, but I still enjoyed for what it was as well, was The Nun. And I do understand as well as why people didn't really like this one. I mean, the scares were pretty weak for the most part. It was just mainly jump scares. And also, this is something I do agree with, is that the nun was barely in the movie. So she's the title character and she was barely in it. Yeah, so that's something I didn't like either. But I still overall enjoyed it because I liked the atmosphere. I liked that, like the way it was filmed. It was filmed very well. The performances, especially by Tasia Farmiga, were very good. I really liked how Tasia Farmiga was in this because she's Vera Farmiga's real life sister, the one who plays Lorraine Warren in The Conjuring and Conjuring 2. I also do like the lead into The Conjuring as well. This was better than the first Annabelle movie, so it's got not that going for it at least. Because the first Annabelle movie was kind of eh. It was okay. I mean, like, Conjuring, Conjuring 2, and Annabelle Creation were all better than this, though. And I do know that there's more Conjuring movies coming out, like The Crooked Man, and another Annabelle movie, and there's even rumors that there's going to be another Nun movie. So maybe the next Nun movie will be a prequel, just like Annabelle Creation, and it will be better, hopefully, than this. Even though I still overall liked it for what it was. And another one, this is sort of like a guilty pleasure kind of movie for a horror fan like myself, and that's Death House. So, like, I enjoyed this for what it was. I mean, I really did like how they had so many horror icons in this, like Kane Hodder, Michael Berryman, Sid Haig, Bill Moseley, Gunnar Hansen, Dee Wallace, Barbara Crampton. So this was pretty much the horror Expendables. There was also, of course, an appearance from R.A. Mihailoff, who played Leatherface in the third Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So this is like pretty much for horror fans only. I liked the prison setting. I liked some of the practical gore effects, even though there was some bad CGI in it. But like, you know, it is what it is, kind of thing. Performances, for the most part, were pretty good as well. Another one is Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell. So, well, I didn't like this one as much as some of the other ones, but it was still a pretty good entry. I liked the Arctic setting. It's like it was something different. I also thought Jamie Kennedy wasn't as annoying as he was in the previous movie, so he was better in this one. I also did like how they actually had some more practical effects, because a downfall with the last one is I felt they kind of like used a little too much CGI, even though the last one was the better movie and all. But, like, you know, the story in general was just the same story you've seen before in a Tremors movie, so that's another downfall as well. But I still overall liked it. And another one I chose is this independent movie called The Witching Season. So this is actually an anthology horror movie, like Creepshow or like Trick or Treat. And this actually reminded me a little bit of Trick or Treat and also Tales Halloween. Yeah. So, like, you know, if you like those two movies, if you like Trick or Treat or Tales of Halloween, you'll like this as well. It's like, yeah, I really liked the Halloween look it had. Very atmospheric. It had some, like, you know, some pretty good practical effects too. Really enjoyed it. And I also chose this Christmas horror movie called I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. So this was a pretty interesting movie. It's about this husband and wife and their son are like living in this basement after like this in this post-apocalyptic world. Some kind of like, I guess, an outbreak happened or something. Didn't really go too much into the story in that. And so like they're pretty much fighting for survival. And I like the claustrophobic environment as well. And I do like the Christmas setting as well. I mean, it's just something about Christmas horror movies. Like, I like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas. So if you like those movies, you'll probably enjoy this as well. Another one is Malevolence 3: Killer. It's the third in the Malevolence series. If you haven't seen that series, I suggest you check it out. They're pretty good. And I think this is actually the best one, in my opinion, because I actually personally think that this series gets better as it goes on. I liked how this picked up where the first movie ended, since the second movie was just a prequel. And I liked how we get, like, you know, a little more story of the killer. I liked the throwback 80s vibe it had to it. I also liked the appearance from Adria Barbeau, who's a horror legend. I mean, she was in movies like The Fog, Creepshow, and Swamp Thing. So I recommend this. Another one is Unfriended: Dark Web. I actually did like the first Unfriended movie. I mean, I know, like, it wasn't the most popular movie, but, and to be honest, you don't need to see the first Unfriended to see this. This is actually a standalone sequel. We're using completely different characters, a different story, and everything. And I think I actually did prefer this over the first movie because I like the characters in this one more. I also did like this one girl who was deaf, like, so I guess he'd use sign language to talk to her. So I kind of gave a bit of like, bit of like a, I guess you could say a challenge, because like, she wouldn't be able to hear like, the killers in the house of any sort, like when they're trying to save her and whatnot. They're trying to like, trying to contact her and everything. So that was pretty interesting. Another one is Summer of '84. Now this was actually a pretty good movie, like, because I really liked the story about this kid trying to like prove that his neighbor is a serial killer. Because like when you really think about it, this actually makes you think that maybe your neighbors aren't who you think they are. Like maybe your neighbor could be a serial killer, or someone like you may not know your neighbor as well as you think. So I really liked the 80s settings. I also thought the kids were pretty good. They reminded me of the kids from It, which was also pretty good because it is also set in the 80s just like this movie. And it's a funny thing that I mentioned the movie Hellfest earlier in this video because I have another one that's pretty much similar to that, and that's Bloodfest. This was a better movie than Hellfest, of course. I mean, it had like similarities, the fact that these characters go to some kind of horror festival. That's like really the only similarity. Like, it's about like these kids who are horror fans go to this festival, but then like they get locked in with, along with like many other guests, and then the people who run the festival start like killing them with like chainsaws and whatnot. There's blood spraying all over the place. I mean, if you're a gore hound, this is the movie for you. I really like the plot twist at the end as well. Another one is Ghost Stories. This had a very cool story. It's basically about this guy who gets this case where he has to go to like interview 3 people who've had like incidences with ghosts, who came in contact with ghosts. And like, he's trying to prove that the whole thing is just a hoax, trying to like basically like, push away about this whole thing that ghosts exist and whatnot. He doesn't believe in them. The performances were pretty good too, especially by Martin Freeman from The Hobbit. So I really did like this. Another one I chose is The First Purge, which is actually the 4th movie in the series, but it's a prequel though, showing how the Purge all begins. And I really did like how they showed how it all began, that it was this experiment that happened in Staten Island, New York, and then it later on became nationwide in the United States. So like, I know a lot of people like, don't 100% care for this series, but I personally have always liked it. Even the first movie that a lot of people didn't care for. I also did watch the Purge TV series, which was pretty good too. Another one I chose is Terrifier. So this is actually another like Halloween themed horror movie. It's basically about this guy dressed up like a clown and stalks these girls on Halloween night. And like, he's known as Art the Clown. And Art the Clown is very violent. I mean, like, we saw him like, mutilate people like all out, like, in like very gory fashions. So it's a very brutal, over-the-top, gory horror movie. So if you really like gory movies, this is the movie for you. And there's another very good horror movie that I also consider to not just be one of the best horror movies, but one of the best movies in general this year. And that's Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage. It's basically about Nicolas Cage, who plays his character Red, and his girlfriend Mandy, who get like, these cult members, like, pretty much like, attack them, and they kill his girlfriend and leave him for dead. But then, like, he goes after them, like, using a crossbow, chainsaw, and this really big axe. So he goes after them for revenge. Reminded me a little bit of Mad Max a little bit as well. And I really did also like the scenes where he's like fights these like, looks like these Hellraiser looking creatures with that really big axe. He goes very over the top. And like, Nicolas Cage is just awesome. He's covered in blood through like a lot of the second half. Much like what you see right here on the cover. And so, it's an overall like really cool movie. I highly recommend it. Another one I chose is A Quiet Place. Now this is a movie I knew right away was going to be good. It's a movie that was directed by, what's his name? John Krasinski, and also stars him and his real life wife, Emily Blunt. And like, basically it's about like, them and their kids living out in this house, and they have to not make any noise at all because there's these monsters living all over the world that like, they can't see but they can hear very well. And so like, so they can't like, talk, make any kind of noise whatsoever. So like, the performances are very well good with like little to no dialogue. So like, they have to act with facial expressions, and they all did very good. I also do like the looks of the monsters and the effects too. Like some of them, they had some practical, but they did have some CGI, which was very good too. And another one I chose is Hereditary. So like, this is a very disturbing, creepy horror movie here. It's basically about like, this lady's mother dies, and then like, after like, her mother dies, she like starts finding out all this stuff that she didn't know about her mother, and then some like creepy stuff starts happening to her family. Like basically it's like her family is like changing, like there's like lots of like family drama. The performances are very good as well, especially like, that little girl was very creepy. There was like a lot of this noise. And like, the imagery, the atmosphere disturbed me. Like, there's like two scenes that really all that disturbed me, which was the ending and also this scene that happened in the middle, which revolves like a car accident, which I'm not going to spoil too much of because it's like, a little bit of a surprise if you haven't seen this. Like, I recommend this movie. It was a little slow paced at times, but overall, I recommend it despite that though. And so that's about it for all these. But I do have one more movie, and it's the movie that I think is the best horror movie of this year. And this is a movie I'm sure that not everyone's going to agree with me on. And that is Halloween. That's right, the new Halloween movie, Halloween 2018, whatever you want to call it, is what I think is the best horror movie this year. And while I know it's not the most original movie, and it's not the most unique movie either, and I do know it has its problems as well, but the reason why I choose it to be the best horror movie of this year is because, the way I see it, it was the Halloween movie we needed after all these bad horror movies, Halloween movies that came out before it, like Halloween Resurrection and the two Rob Zombie movies, even though the first Rob Zombie movie wasn't that bad. But the second one was, though. So it's one that, like, redeemed the series. It helped save it. And I do know that there's people who didn't really like some of the direction they took it in, like ignoring the sequels, getting rid of Michael and Laurie being siblings. But that really didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, Michael and Laurie weren't really siblings in the first movie. That whole thing was explained in the second movie. So if you get rid of all the sequels, they're not siblings. So it's like, returning Michael back to his original roots, making him a force of evil again. Like, not making him all supernatural-ish, like all the sequels made it out to be. He was, of course, still, like, hard to kill and everything. Like, he still was pretty much not dying from anything they did to him. I did also like his mask. I liked how it was supposed to be the mask from the first movie. It was, like, all deteriorated after 40 years. I also did like the performance from Jamie Lee Curtis. I really liked that she was back. I also did like how brutal the deaths were, making Michael relentless again. So I really did also like the Halloween setting. Like, you actually really all out looked like it was Halloween. I mean, if I had any gripes with it, it would just be like the podcast people from the beginning. I didn't really like that they were throwaway characters. They could have been in the movie more. I also wish there could have been more appearances from other characters from the first movie. Like, maybe it would have been cool if they had Sheriff Brackett in this one. Maybe like a cameo from Charles Cyphers himself. That would have been cool. And like, sorry. And like the whole thing with the doctor, I didn't think we needed. I won't say what it is though, just in case you haven't seen it. Like, but it wasn't really needed that much. Sorry. But overall though, I really did enjoy this new Halloween movie. I really liked that it brought back to its original roots. I liked that John Carpenter returned. I liked that Jamie Lee Curtis returned. I mean, it really did felt like it was an actual proper sequel to the first movie. And in a way, I think it's actually the best Halloween sequel. So, I overall enjoyed it. I think it was the best horror movie I've seen this year. If you disagree with me, it's fine. Doesn't bother me. And I think that's really it for this video. And I look forward to, more horror movies in 2019. And stay tuned for more videos. Alright guys, see you later. Bye.